Hey everybody, Nick here, and I gotta say, the response to the Ask Nick Volume 2 was huge. Absolutely blew me away, and I got already more questions than I can possibly answer in one video, so I'm just gonna rattle off another one real quick, address some of those. If you got more questions, throw them in the comments here. But hey, why not? Right, so let's go on ahead and jump into the very first question. Okay, so Gold Saint 7 asks, I use a flashlight much more than a pocket knife. There's a lot more darkness than there are things to cut. That's pretty profound there, Gold Saint. But what do people cut all day? Well, first off, I do talk a lot about pocket knives on my channel, and that's partly because, it's a joy for me, both at the mechanical level as well as at the symbolic level. For me, I've always said pocket knives are a potent symbol, and a symbol of the intellect, of the human condition, of trying to cut away the crap, well, the junk from the gems, if you will. Hey, there you go. And so, there's that level, but there is a lot to cut in life, especially once you start carrying a knife. You start seeing envelopes, apples, boxes, tape, foam, things like that. But practically speaking, for me, it's less about specifically I need to be cutting things all the damn day. Honestly, there are days when I never actually use my pocket knife. But for me, it's more a question of the subtle joy of knowing that no matter what does come up, I've got a pretty capable tool waiting for me in my pocket here. That's nice, and also the mechanical awesomeness brings me joy. So it's not so much about a constant need for knives. I'm not a constantly cutting person. But there's a joy there at the symbolic level, at the mechanical level, and frankly just at the beautiful object man jewelry sort of level that is maybe a little hard to capture, and that for me at least, without a really heavy appreciation of flashlights yet, although it's growing, isn't quite there for the light world quite yet. So good question, Gold Saint. So I got two similar questions here. I'll answer the first one realistically, the other one a little less so. Chris Reeve asks, I don't know if it's that Chris Reeve, but hey, why not? If you could design your perfect knife, what would it be? So, great question. In a lot of ways, it would resemble the Shirogorov Neon. It would probably have a 2.95-inch blade. It would be an M390 steel. Be similar to the Neon blade here, except I'd probably flatten the bottom of it a little bit more, and I'd move to a modified Tanto or even a Razel shaped sort of blade, because those are just so damn useful for EDC. Still, I'd want a thin blade stock, full flat round, 2-screw construction. I would want, instead of a titanium frame lock here, I would want a compression lock on it, because it's just beautiful to not have your fingers in the blade path at any point. And I would want it to be a flipper. Right now, the only person making compression lock flippers that I know of is Brad Southard. And so that's a bit of fantasy, but hey, why not? I'd like some captive bearings, kind of like the ones in the Greensmo Norseman, because they can be really good, and for maintenance, they're just so much better. I would want it to be very, very fall shut smooth. That would bring me a lot of joy, especially on a compression lock, because, oh man, that smoothness is just stellar. I would want a clip that is very similar to your Spyderco wire clip, in that the clip itself is easily replaceable, and it's fairly deep in the pocket. I would want tritium someplace in the backspacer, tritium meaning a tritium glowing tube, because let's face it, that's really cool. No practical use, but oh man, is that awesome. And then I wouldn't want any damn lanyard holes, because too much space is spent on too many knives putting lanyard holes in. And I think the whole thing together I would call the gem. So if anybody, good custom knife maker out there, you want to make me the gem, just let me know. I'm totally game. Great question there, Chris. Let's move on. Okay, next question by Mitchell Delmar. I'm going to answer a little less realistically. Have you ever given any thought to designing a Shabazz? And what would its specs be? Well, you never said it had to be a knife or anything else, so I figured, you know what, let me have some fun here. What is the ideal piece of everyday carry gear? And this is impossible by the laws of physics and the universe in general, but what I would like is some kind of a pouch that you can slip into your pocket that is bigger on the inside, such that you could store a whole bunch of stuff in your pocket, and, you'd never fill up your pocket. And so in addition to your normal stuff, like your knife, your flashlight, maybe a bigger flashlight, maybe another knife as a backup, who knows, a pen, some screwdrivers, your multi-tool, bottle of water, perhaps. Also could throw in there things like my laptop, ideally, an umbrella, some headphones, a fire extinguisher would be a great idea, first aid kit, maybe a folding chair, and of course, roll after roll after roll of freaking duct tape. So for me, that would be a beautiful thing if people could say, oh, hey, Crap, we need a fire extinguisher. Don't worry, I've got one in my Shabazz. Oh yeah, that'd be nice. And, hey, I'm just curious, what would you keep in your Shabazz? Throw it in the comments if such a thing existed. So if anybody ever violates the laws of physics and has a marketable product, oh boy, do I have an endorsement for you. Hope that helps. Okay, so Toadstalker, a very regular commenter, asks, what's your most disappointing high-end carry you've ever purchased? For me, that's going to be the Shirogorov F95 Nudist. So after I got the Neon here, I was really blown away by it, because this is really one of the best EDC knives in the world, flat out. And so I figured the F95 would be a bigger version. And so I picked one up, and the review, by the way, hasn't posted yet, but it's coming up, and I already sold the knife, so I can't be showing it off here. But nonetheless, it's a beautiful knife, and there's a lot of good there. But the thing is, for a $700 knife, the construction and the action were really ho-hum. There was no interior milling, there was no backspacer worth a damn. There was just a lot of lazy and a lot of cut corners, and I didn't like that in a knife that pricey. And then the action, unfortunately, was disappointing. It was about the same, if not a little worse, than your ZT452 here. And so if I have to have a really huge Russian knife, I might as well take this guy, which is made in the States, but has a Dmitry Sinkovich one. He's Belarusian, but still. I might as well do that and then have the Neon if I really want excellence. So that's a great question there, Toadstacker. Thank you very much. So Jim Ramsey Horry, I'm sure I just butchered your name, sorry about that, asks, what category of items seen in EDC has desperate need of innovation, in your opinion? Flashlights and knives and multi-tools all seem to be moving along pretty well. You're right. I mean, flashlights and knives and multi-tools are growing. Some of it's held back by things like patents on the compression lock or the access lock, which is disappointing, but for the most part, they're doing okay. One area that does badly need innovation is batteries. And I mean this in every sense. I mean, not only at some level, just in terms of standardization. For flashlight batteries, right now the market is really brutal, in that you've got the 14500, which is about the size of a AA battery, but isn't always the size of a AA battery, and it's brutal. So somebody needs to innovate by making batteries that are clearly labeled by size, and including protected, unprotected, whatever, and then telling us what the flashlights take what size batteries, kind of like we have for AAA and AA in the conventional world. The other way that we need innovation is just power density. And, Tesla agrees with this. The fact that your iPhone has such crappy battery life, or your Android, or any of them, we need better batteries. And so if you are a young scientist getting into the field, oh my God, go to battery chemistry. We need your help. That's a way that the world could be changed, not just for EDC, but on the whole. So batteries, to me, are the area in EDC that is in most desperate need of innovation, both in terms of relabeling and in terms of better chemistry and better densities. Great question, though, Jim. So Falcon Polling asks, do you have a favorite thing to cut and a least favorite thing to cut? He says, I love opening bags of sugar, but hate cutting the cheese, no pun intended. It just makes me feel like my blade is dull. Well, I'm actually with you on the cheese part. Cutting cheese, especially soft cheese, is just terrible. So I use one of the little wire cheese cutters. Makes things easier. Cheese cutters. What are you doing, Nick? Oh, I'm buying a cheese cutter. Sorry, I'm approximately 12. My favorite thing to cut is Kaizen foam. So this is a foam that's done in multiple layers here. And it's really designed to be able to cut out, basically enclosures for things. In terms of cutting, it's just so much damn fun, especially with a good sharp knife, because it cuts beautifully, and it's so damned useful. For instance, this is the old enclosure I had for my knife drawer, where I can just drop a knife in here, and another one, and another one, and it's beautiful, and it also is very protective. So one of the things I love doing most at my work and anywhere else is creating protective cases for things in Kaizen foam. It's cheap, it's easy, and using a knife, I usually do use my Shirogorov Neon, you can get in there and cut out very specific shapes for very weird components and create something that is insanely well protected for travel or something like that. So I am an absolutely huge fan of the Kaizen foam, and it is absolutely 100% my favorite thing to cut on. Great question there, Falcon. So Electric Tactical on the last Q&A asked if I had any opinions about flasks, and I thought he meant the small things you keep in your pocket with the booze in it. But he clarifies, no, I meant for tea or coffee. On that, I do actually have an opinion. I like this guy a lot. This is a Contigo, basically drink flask, and it's a vacuum chamber sealed thing, and it's got this little lid on there, and in order to pop it open, come on, you little bugger, there we go. You unlock it. Yes, it does have a locking mechanism. And then press the trigger in the back here to pop this little thing down and unseal it. It's a beautiful thing because it gives you just a little bit of hot tea or something like that. It reduces the chance that I am going to pour hot tea down the front of me, which is a significant factor. I am not a skilled man. And honestly, it's durable enough and it's sealed tight enough that I can just throw this in my backpack and not really worry about having my computer smell like, I don't know, rooibos tea or something like that. So that's going to be my choice there. I haven't tried the entire field. I don't speak from strong authority, but I like that well and good. So there you go. Good question, Tactical. So, Sheepdog Warrior asks, Nick, what are your 5 favorite Spydercos that you own or would love to own, and why? Okay. My 5 favorite are the Sleesh Buoy here, the Delica, the Paramilitary 2, PM2, the Dragonfly, which I recently lost, which is sad, and the Native 5, which I've reviewed in the past, but didn't hold on to, because it's kind of supplanted by some of my other knives. I love the Sleesh because it's just a thing of perfection. I got a whole video talking about why I love the Sleesh. The Delica is probably the best EDC knife under $600 any day of the week. It's a great, great EDC sort of knife. The PM2 is another really great choice for EDC that's a little bit beefier, and it has the compression lock, which is a joy. The Dragonfly is a very big, small knife in that it's tiny, but at the same time it cuts with authority. And so it's a great knife for travel. That's how I lost mine. And then the Native 5 is a knife that is just an ergonomic masterwork, and it's really good in value. You get S35 blade and a nice FRN scale for like $80, and that's stellar. So those are probably my 5 favorite Spydercos. They're all great choices, and there are plenty of others that I didn't get to mention that I also like a lot. But for me, that's the top. Great question, though, Sheepdog. So finally, Grunik asks a pretty common question. Nick, will we ever see your face? But the thing is, faces are a little strange. Everybody fixates on the physicality, on the flesh attached to the skull, on the person, the living, breathing beast who's lofting gear towards the camera and keeping the mechanical pocket watch wound. But the thing is, that face, that person is just meat. It's fleeting, it's aging, it's transient. And let's face it, it's nothing too special to look at either. Be real here. But that's not who the Nick actually is, because you all have already seen my face all around you. Let me explain. Every time that you take an item out of your everyday carry because you haven't used it in 4 years, well, right there you're going to see my face. Every time that you need that same item, like 4 days later, probably going to see my face there too. Sorry about that. Every time that somebody asks the time or the day or the date, and because you're wearing a legible watch, you've got an answer before anybody else even has their phones out, right there you're going to see my face shining down. Every time the power goes out and you have your flashlight on weirdly quickly, leading somebody in the room to ask, wait, did you actually just carry a flashlight? Right there, you're going to see my face reflected in the beam of that light. Every time your coworkers stop asking, hey, does anybody have a pen? And start just looking at you and saying, hey, can I borrow your pen? Right there, you're going to see my face. Every time a coworker gives you the, oh my God, why do you carry a weapon speech in the lunchroom, and then you explain that it's just a tool for opening envelopes and cutting apples, you're going to see my face there too. And then when that same coworker, most importantly, comes by later on with a package they can't open, asking to borrow your knife, oh, you better believe you're going to see my face smiling out over that room. So, Grunik, the fact is, you know my face well. The flesh doesn't actually matter. But great question. So I hope this has been interesting to all of you. Please feel free to keep them coming. I've got a whole bunch of other questions, but feel free to keep on adding to the list, and I'll answer them every so often when I get a chance. And thank you all very much. I do love interacting with you guys. It is truly, truly a joy. Have yourselves a wonderful rest of your day, and be on the lookout for my face. Bye now.